the goal of the U.S. nuclear posture is that every morning Russia and China wake up, we want them to be uncertain about whether or not the United States is going to nuke them. We want them to be thinking about it. Could America nuke us today? Right now, you talked about the Russian nuclear posture. You said if a threat manifests itself that represents an existential threat to Russia, that Russia will use nuclear weapons in response. But there's, the United States doesn't have that policy. We have a preemptive policy where we can use nuclear weapons preemptively in any situation we deem necessary. To show you how dangerous this is, during the Trump administration, they had a assistant secretary of defense who, when talking about this preemption, said the goal of the U.S. nuclear posture is that every morning Russia and China wake up, we want them to be uncertain about whether or not the United States is going to nuke them. We want them to be thinking about it. Could America nuke us today? That's a statement from an American official dealing about the American nuclear posture. And Joe Biden didn't change that posture. It's the same posture we have today. So every morning, we want Russia and China to wake up saying, is America going to nuke us today? We're worried about that. The Russians are tired of this game. So right now in Russia, and I've spoken with these people, these are people who advise the Ministry of Defense and the National Security Council on issues pertaining to nuclear posture. There's growing momentum for Russia to adopt a policy of preemption. But here's the danger. You see, one of the people who's given voice to this is a guy named Sergei Karaganov. He wrote an article recently in which he said that if Russia doesn't win this conflict soon, if this becomes a frozen conflict, which many people are saying that's the next best thing rather than having a Ukrainian defeat, just stringing out a frozen conflict. He said that ultimately that will play to the disadvantage of Russia, which means over time, Russia will get weaker and Ukraine and NATO will get stronger until there comes a point where Russia will be compelled to respond with nuclear weapons because the balance of forces is so out of whack that the existential survival of Russia is at stake. So Russia will have to use nuclear weapons. And he said, rather than, if this is the scenario that everybody's seeing, rather than wait for that time to happen, why not preempt it? Why not right now, while Russia is stronger, while Russia has the strength, why don't we adopt a preemption policy and then we tell NATO, stop this war because a continuation of this war will be seen as an existential threat, or we're going to nuke you. And in his paper, he said, the Russians believe that if they take out a Polish city, you were just in Poland, you know where Poznan is.
Yeah.
The paper said Poznan, that they'll just take out Poznan. And he said that the Russians are gambling that Joe Biden, Mr. Article 5, America's there for you, that Joe Biden's not going to trade Boston for Poznan. Meaning that if the Russians hit Poznan, the United States is going to do nothing because the United States doesn't want to lose nuclear cities or cities to nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
I think the Russians are wrong. I think the United States would respond. It would be a general nuclear war. But here we have a situation where both sides are losing touch with reality, going down the path of dangerous. Posturing at stuff. This is far more dangerous than the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a controlled event. Understand that. It was about Russia initiating an action designed to get the United States to withdraw Jupiter missiles from Turkey. And when the United States agreed to withdraw the Jupiter missiles, Russia withdrew its missiles from Cuba. This was a controlled crisis with a foreseeable outcome that actually created stability. Right now, what's going on in Ukraine between NATO and Russia is an uncontrolled crisis with no foreseeable outcome, and one which both sides are ramping up their respective nuclear postures.